Happy 4th of July. Welcome to Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. Alright, I know some of you got a kick out of that. I'm probably not going to keep that. And I apologize about the glasses. Today is a bad allergy day for me. But I'm still going to bring you some news today. Happy 4th to everyone. I hope you're celebrating. I hope you're doing well. And hope you're hanging out with your family. Or even if you're by yourself, I hope you're doing what you love doing. There's a lot of people that have to work today on the 4th of July. A lot of people, against their wishes, people I'm sure would like to have the day off for the holiday. Other people are making holiday pay and they're making maybe double time or something like that, or time and a half. And maybe they're happy that they're working today. But when you have a population that is buried under so much debt, people that even don't want to work, a lot of people are working today. So shout out to everyone today. No matter what you're doing, if you're working, not working, maybe you're watching this because you're working right now and you're watching this later. But either way, you know, happy 4th. And I'm flying these flags back here, the state flag that I'm in here in California, and the U.S. flag. And things are not the same as they were a few years ago. Of course, things are always changing. But we might want to ask ourselves as we celebrate the 4th of July, are things changing for the better or for the worse? Well, I haven't had these for many years. This little garden you see behind me, the tomato plants are doing good. I added on these toppers here. These are little laundry hampers that you can get from IKEA for like $4. Actually, the last time I was at IKEA, they weren't there, but we bought a few of these a few years ago. They were like $4 at the time. Now we can't find them. Instead of using them for laundry, I now have them on my tomato plants because the tomato plants grew so tall that they outgrew this little protective cage that I put up to stop the squirrels and everything else from getting them. And had to expand the height to where I can protect them. So we've got a few tomatoes coming in now. As you know, the cost of food is something I've been warning about for years. If you've been on this channel, you know exactly what's happening right now and why it's happening. And I think it's going to continue to get worse. And I wish I could sit here on the 4th of July and tell you everything is going to get better. Everything is going to get back to normal. What is normal? 1. 2, the new normal is abnormal. We're heading into a world, a future, that's going to be drastically different than even what we're seeing today. In the upcoming months, years, I think your heads are going to spin at the changes that you're going to see in our way of life, the cost of living, the monetary system, you name it. One of the questions that I get asked the most is, JJ, you said silver was going to fly, is going to skyrocket. And as you know, we've been right about most things. The home inflation, dozens of other channels out there were talking about home prices were going to crash 2018, 19, 20, 21. We told you even as the health crisis was coming up, prices are just going to go up. With the shutdowns, with all the rescue programs, all that money creation, how much trillions of new debt pumped out into the system, we told you home prices were going to go up. We were one of the only channels, the only channel that I know of. I'm sure there's probably a few out there that I've never seen. I know mainstream news was not talking about home prices continuing to rise. They reported it after the fact, of course. Oh, home prices went up this much last month or this much in the last year, but they didn't tell you that the continued price appreciation was going to continue. Now that things are changing, interest rates, mortgage rates, of course, have went up, and there are some changes happening. And now we expect prices to decelerate and then decline unless they drop rates again, which is completely possible. But if things continue as they are, even if they leave rates where they're at, we're going to see some price corrections, right? Not a crash. There's people out there saying, that I predicted a crash. That's some other guy. That maybe he looks like me, maybe he wears a hat or glasses and both. I haven't predicted any price crashes. Why? Because real estate doesn't crash. It may decline, it may go down, but the process is too long for home prices to crash. Well, let's get into some news today. Let's talk about part of this big cost of living that all of us, most of us are under right now, and the price at the pump. J.P. Morgan predicts $380 per barrel oil. That's the worst case scenario. That would be amidst Russian output cuts. And as most of you know, there's a lot of tensions happening right now. There's war There's talks of escalations of this war and new wars and new conflicts globally. This is not a geopolitical channel, but most of you know what's happening right now. There's a lot of instability out there, a lot of uncertainty. And this is what happens when you depend on other countries for not just oil, but for anything. You're going to see these events really disrupt our lives here. While things were okay and there were no delays or no disruptions, things were cheap. All these electronics we got from Asian countries that manufactured these items, much cheaper than we would have paid if we manufactured them here, because here the cost of labor is so much more because the cost of living is so much more, right? People celebrate when their home price goes up. Oh, look at my equity, I'm so smart, I'm such a great investor. And I get that, right? They're telling me my home is worth $700,000. Thank goodness I bought in 2010, otherwise I wouldn't afford to live. I couldn't come here today in California and buy a $700,000 house. So yeah, if you have equity you may be celebrating, but also high cost of living equals higher demand, or demand for higher salaries. And the more you see demand for higher salaries, the more you're going to see companies shipping their jobs elsewhere. Now, part of it is within the states here, companies, for example, leaving California because the demand for higher wages here has many companies, a lot of companies, too many to even name, move to states like Texas and Tennessee, and where they can pay lower wages, the taxes are cheaper, the land is cheaper, the space is cheaper, the commercial property is cheaper, everything's cheaper in some states. Also on a larger scale, you see companies completely leaving the United States and ship off to different countries where everything else is cheaper. That's not nothing new. Most of you that have been paying attention know that this has been going on for decades. Worst case scenario though, JP Morgan predicts $380 per barrel oil. Right now we're around 100 something. Can you imagine a tripling and almost a quadrupling of your price you pay at the pump? People say that's crazy talk, that'll never happen. Well, we're dependent on other countries for this. If you don't see the writing on the wall, if you don't see the conflicts happening right now, if you think that there's no way things could get worse, you might want to take your head out of the sand and look at reality and what's happening right now. We're dependent on these other countries for this, and what you and I have to pay is based on what's happening across the globe right now. And if you think things can't get worse from here, please tell me why. Please tell me down in the comments why things can't get worse. I'd like to hear it. Maybe there's a magic genie that's going to come down and fix all this. Maybe there's a superhero. Maybe you believe in Superman. Maybe Superman will come down and fix all the bad things that are going on, fix all the problems. There's a lot of people that believe in superheroes exist, I guess. Please let me know down in the comments if that's what you think. Another article here I want to share. Americans lose confidence in paying credit card bills. The share of Americans that weren't confident they could pay their credit card balance hits the lowest point since 2018. That's per Lending Tree survey. Over 50% of cardholders said they were not confident they could pay their credit card's monthly balance in full. That's down 10 points just from May. So in 1 month, we've got a big increase in people losing confidence that they can pay their cards in full. What happens when you can't pay your card in full, when you have an 18, 19, 20% interest rate, sometimes higher? That's when the debt snowball really rolls over, and there's no way to stop it. Because once you can't pay your card in full at those interest rates, look out, because bankruptcy is just within sight, coming at you down the road very quickly. And I think that's what's going to happen. Of course, anything could happen. They could cut rates. They can implement a bunch of new rescue programs. Right? This is all controlled and manipulated. If they let it happen, yes, there's going to be a debt tsunami and a bankruptcy tsunami coming up later this year. I don't see how it could last much longer without any massive new rescue programs. Now, speaking of rescue programs, we talked about a rescue program here. It's not really a rescue program. It's a Band-Aid on a broken leg, if you ask me, and this the stimulus checks. Families can get around $1,000, people with kids. They're saying that's going to help people pay for gas. Is that going to fix the problem? Is that going to make gas prices come down? No. It'll probably make them go higher, because now people that couldn't afford gas are now going to go ahead and fill up their tanks how many times with $1,000 or whatever else they couldn't afford. They're going to go buy it now, and that's going to cause more demand. And does more demand cause prices to go up or down? Right, make them go up. All right, it's not rocket science, folks. So strap on your seatbelts, because it's going to get worse. Right, so Americans with credit card debt. I don't know how you're going to do this. You can do a debt consolidation. You can do a balance transfer and get a 0 APR for so many months. You're going to pay a balance transfer fee. Usually it's like 3%. If you can get it for less than that, if you can get it with no fee, then that might be a lifeline for you for maybe a few months, maybe a year. Is everyone going to be able to do that? Probably not. Next, real estate. Home sellers realizing it's no longer their housing market. We talked about how in some cities that saw the rapid price appreciation over the past few years are the ones now seeing the biggest percentage of price cuts. Markets here like San Diego, other hot markets like Austin, Texas, Boise, Idaho, seeing 20, 25, 30% of all listings cutting their price. Some people that's no big deal, because we saw home prices go up by 100%, 200%. You know, what's 10 or 20, 30%? It's nothing, right? Other people say this is the beginning of a big real estate collapse. I don't think that's the case. I think there may be some price corrections. I think prices will go down if things stay the way they are. I think they definitely will go down. But will things stay the way they are? Or will they just come in and cut rates again and implement a bunch of new rescue programs? Will they cancel foreclosures? Will they bail out all of the institutions that came in and bought investment properties? If you think those things can't happen, well, please let me know down in the comments why they can't happen. I think they can happen, and I think there's a good chance that they will happen. And the real estate market could reverse just like that. You could see prices shoot back up again. Why? Because this is all controlled by the controllers, unfortunately. Home sellers. The growing number of home sellers have been forced to readjust their home price expectations. According to Redfin, 6.1% of all homes listed had price cuts. Now in some markets that's a lot higher, like I said, 20, 25%, 30% in some markets. Overall, across a broad spectrum of all homes sold, it's around 6%. So not really a huge number of home price cuts, if you ask me. 6% when mortgage rates have doubled. I think a lot of these sellers, though, will have to cut their prices even more. More sellers are going to have to cut their prices because with this surge in mortgage rates, they're going to have to come to the realization that these home prices are just set where they're at because of what's been happening with mortgage rates, right? Low mortgage rates for 10 years fueled this boom. Higher mortgage rates will take some air out of the bubble. They're being very careful, though. They don't want to burst the bubble. They want to let air out of the bubble. So people calling for a crash, I don't think they understand the mechanism behind what's being steered right now. But we're going to find out. We're going to keep an eye on it for you. We're going to continue to bring you the news. Thanks for supporting my channel and myself here. Appreciate all your tips, all the super thanks that you guys give me. Thank you so much. It really helps us stay alive. This type of news and this type of view is not going to be put at the top of the search results. I realize that. I could definitely twist my message here and just talk about puppy dogs and show you guys the beach and do that, of course. But I want to bring you accurate information and what I think is a realistic expectation of what's going to be happening here. And also how things can change. Things can change on a dime. This is all controlled by debt and people's ability to borrow money. The more people can borrow money, the easier it is, then prices will boom accordingly. And when that changes, then things will reverse. It's very simple. And most of you know this, but some of you still are saying, okay, all we need to do is get this guy out of office and everything's going to be fine. If it was just about one person in a position of power here in the United States, then why do we see these things happening globally? Why is there a global shortage of food? Why is there global inflation? Inflation like we've never seen in many different countries. So if you think it's still about one person in office here in the United States, you need to, again, get your head out of the sand and wake up and realize what's happening. There's a lot of bigger things happening than what it may seem on the surface. And of course, they want you focusing on small things. They want you blaming one person or one party or one group, and they want you, looking over there, pointing at each other. They don't want you looking at the big picture. Why? I don't know. You let me know down in the comments, please. Thanks everybody for being here. Happy 4th. Peace.